welcome you all to Clinical Rounds with Jindal IVF. So, today we will be discussing one of the most debated and clinically challenging topic in reproductive medicine, that is endometriosis. So, we as clinicians have many times we have dilemma whether to go for surgery or whether to go for ART in the cases of endometriosis. Today we have with us Dr. Anupam Gupta. Ma'am is senior consultant at Jindal IVF Chandigarh, who has been managing these cases day in and out for more than 25 years, and who will be guiding us through her vast clinical expertise through case-based scenarios and help us in deciding and making more individualized decisions for each patient. Also, we are honored to have Dr. Umesh Jindal ma'am with us, who is pioneer in the field of reproductive medicine and a teacher and a mentor to many of us who will be guiding us through her expert insights. I also encourage all of you to actively participate and reflect your own cases which you have managed or you have seen in your clinical practice and feel free to discuss with us. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sonal. So today we'll be discussing endometriosis, whether to go in for ART or surgery. This is a very common topic which is discussed in almost all the conferences. So let's see what the recent literature says, and we'll then discuss a few case scenarios to just know the line of management in these cases. So endometriosis is an estrogen-dependent disease that affects approximately 10% of reproductive age women worldwide and is related to significant health-related issues. It is a systemic and progressive disease. Pelvic inflammation, adhesions, chronic pain, dysmenorrhea, dyspareunia, and infertility are the common symptoms related to endometriosis. Now, what is the cause of infertility in endometriosis? First is the altered peritoneal environment wherein cytokines, macrophages are present, which cause an inflammatory milieu. Then there's the reduced ovarian reserve, especially because of the endometrioma. Then there's tubal dysfunction due to adhesions. There may be hematosalpinx, hydrosalpinx. Otherwise, the tubes are usually patent, but due to adhesions, there may be tubal dysfunction. Then there is distorted pelvic anatomy, basically in stages 3 and 4. The tubal-ovarian relationship is altered, and this may interfere in the pickup cases. Then there is altered endometrial receptivity. And the last one is the impaired oocyte quality. Previously, this was thought to be a cause, but nowadays they think that this is not the cause. And according to this article, they said it is a time for a rethink. How endometriosis causes infertility, with the exception of tubal dysfunction caused by adhesions, is unclear. According to this article, the main cause of the infertility in case of endometriosis is tubal dysfunction and the inflammatory milieu. They said that the inflammatory milieu in the pelvis and the impaired receptivity of the utopic endometrium are considered to be the possible factors. And data from ART cycles consistently suggests that oocytes from endometriosis patients have a normal potential to develop into euploid blastocysts. Moreover, oocyte or embryo recipients with endometriosis have similar or slightly lower pregnancy and live birth rates compared to recipients without endometriosis, suggesting that utopic endometrium is not or is only minimally affected, which may be caused by undiagnosed adenomyosis. So they say that if the oocyte quality is not altered, the receptivity may be altered, may be lowered somewhat, but that is mainly due to associated adenomyosis, which may be undiagnosed. And in patients with endometriosis, ART is as effective as for any other indication. Now, this is a topic very much debated, whether to go in for IVF or surgery as the first approach in cases of endometriosis. So this was discussed in the fertile battle, infertility, sterility. There were many proponents for surgery and an equal number for IVF. So what are the indications for surgery for IVF? Let's discuss. So for IVF is if there's previous surgery for endometriosis, if there's bilateral endometriomas because of risk of severe impairment of the ovarian reserve, and if the patient is of older age and has reduced ovarian reserve, and if there is any associated factor of tubal infertility like male factor or tubal block. The indications for surgery are if the dimension and ultrasound appearance of the endometriomas is suggest some is doubtful, or there may be large endometriomas which suggest malignancy. Then there may be concomitant severe pain which is resistant to medical treatment, and if the antral follicles are inaccessible for ovum pickup. So we have to individualize the case when to go in for IVF and when to go in for surgery. Now, what are the risks of surgery and versus ART? In surgery, we know that it has a negative impact on ovarian reserve and responsiveness to controlled ovarian stimulation. Major complications may occur in 10% of cases, and these are mainly in cases of deep infiltrating endometriosis. Then they may occur recurrence after cystectomy. And incomplete surgery can lead to repetitive or unnecessary surgeries. Many times we see that a patient has got a surgery for cystectomy for endometriosis, and after 3 or 4 months she comes back again with a large cyst. So recurrences are common after cystectomy. And what are the ART risks? They may occur tubo-ovarian abscess, which may be secondary to OPU. Then there's the risk of disease progression. And then there's the risk of development of ovarian carcinoma later in life, though actually it is very low. So this has been summarized very nicely in a tabular form. The surgical risk, mainly the main is the impact to ovarian reserve and risk of premature ovarian failure. The other risks are mainly depends on the surgical skill, and there is cost involved, there is the possible surgical complications as in any case. Then there may be incomplete surgery and recurrence, and this may delay ART. It may increase time to pregnancy. And in case of ART, there may be progression of disease, there may be increase in inflammatory reaction, there may be difficult oocyte pickup, there may be follicular fluid contamination during the ovum pickup, and there may be undiagnosed occult malignancy. Then there may be risk of rupture with subsequent chemical peritonitis and other pregnancy related complications. So, how do we make a decision? Before making the decision for surgery or ART, we should evaluate the ovarian reserve. This is the main factor which is the deciding factor whether we should go in for surgery or ART. ART should be the first choice in the following situations, like if there is decreased ovarian reserve, if there is advanced age, if there's associated infertility factors, if there's endometrioma recurrence or previous history of surgery for endometriosis, or if there is bilaterality of endometrioma. So in these cases, we should actually, ART should be the first choice. Now, previous versions still considered the size of endometriotic cyst as an indication for surgery, regardless of symptoms or any other issue. However, the latest version of ASHRAE guidelines clearly indicate that cystectomy in women undergoing ART should be considered only to improve endometriosis associated pain or the accessibility of follicles. Patients at risk of having their ovarian reserve severely compromised may be offered oocyte or embryo cryopreservation before the surgical procedure. I think the slide has changed. This was the first slide. In the past, when any ovarian lesion was observed on UST before ART, the standard was to remove it in an effort to clean the ovary and get better outcomes afterwards, regardless of patient symptoms. Then, a large retrospective study showed that removal of endometrioma in women undergoing IVF did not improve cycle outcome. So, there has been an evolution in endometrioma management towards a much more conservative approach, and this has been acknowledged by ASHRAE guidelines. Now, surgery in the early stages of the disease can avoid further impairment of fertility caused by progression of disease. It can be performed with the minimal trauma to the ovary, and it offers the possibility for a spontaneous conception and relief of pain when present. This is when it is in stage 1 or 2, in the early stages of the disease. Now, what is the effect of surgery on ovarian reserve? Though the mere presence of endometrioma by itself causes damage to the ovarian reserve per se, especially in cases of endometrioma, the main damage is post surgical. AMH may fall by as low as 40%, and the operated ovary will show a lower antral follicle count. It will produce lower number of mature follicles and will have a higher risk of having no oocytes collected when compared with the contralateral non-operated ovary.
Ma'am, what do you feel? Has the role of surgery reduced with improvements in ART outcomes and success rate over the years?
Yes, of course. Now we hardly do surgery for endometriomas. We usually resort to ART.
Yes, ma'am, true. And in today's practice, what do you feel? Are we over operating or we are under operating patients with endometriosis before IVF?
Oh, I think it depends on the indication, and mostly if you're an ART person, usually people say that if you're ART person, you usually resort to ART, and if you're a surgeon, you usually resort to surgery. But this should not be the case. I'll discuss in the further slides. So I think most nowadays the approach has been so much conservative that most of the cases can be solved with the help of ERT. So what are the factors affecting the ovarian?
Ma'am, Jindal ma'am, can you please unmute yourself? We are not able to hear you.
Actually, the problem still lies with the surgeons and at the periphery, because most of the time the concept from the very beginning is that diagnosis can only be confirmed by laparoscopy, but that thing has gone now. We have so much of imaging, improved imaging, that you don't need laparoscopy for diagnosis. Then second thing came the any endometriosis, it's surgery. That view still prevails at the peripheral centers and surgeons, with surgeons, and obviously with the more of incentives. Financial incentive obviously is there with surgery, which will not be there with the ART for so many people. So that is one area, because still the surgery is the choice, but one must remember that you are compromising. Like we say that if you give medicines for a long time, you are wasting time. You're compromising, although medicines will not do any harm, but you are wasting time. It doesn't improve fertility, it will waste time. But surgery definitely does harm. Surgery has a potential to do harm. There are very selected cases where pregnancy can happen after surgery. So one has to be very, very careful when surgery is opted for. And then, if surgery has to be done, it has to be a good surgery. You just can't just drain the cyst and come out, or just diagnose it and do some little cautery and come out. So that's not the thing is to be done with endometriosis and endometriosis.
Actually, many people think that they want to clean the first pelvis and then go in for ART. So that should not be the case because it will definitely decrease the ovarian reserve. And it has to be a very good surgeon. It's a fertility sparing surgery. So the surgeon has to be very good to minimize the use of cautery and all so that you don't hamper the ovarian reserve much. It should
And
be done only when absolute need is there, not
and
routine.
and one must remember that recurrence is the rule. If very
Yes,
good
ma'am.
surgery is done, then it might come after 1 year. If poor surgery is done, then it's already there. So no benefit.
Yes, I had a
Yes,
patient who
ma'am.
was young, just married for about 1 year, and she had got a surgery done from some outside place. And within 2 months, there was such a big cyst. And now I could not say anything against the doctor. Also, I said, It does happen sometimes. You just need to go in for ART now." So if you just drain the cyst and then come out, so the recurrence is there in almost in the next 2 months. So now let's
Okay.
see what are the factors which affect the ovarian reserve after laparoscopic cystectomy for ovarian endometriomas. It has been seen that patients with bilateral endometriomas have a significant decline with serum AMH levels than that of unilateral group after 10 days and after 6 months. And if the baseline serum AMH is less than 2 nanograms, they have shown less reduction in serum AMH both in the immediate post-op and after 6 months. then neither patient's age nor the tumor size, they contributed to the decline of ovarian reserve after operation. That means these were not the contributory factors for decline in ovarian reserve. The patient's age or the tumor size did not matter. Only if the tumor was bilateral or if the serum AMH was less than 2, serum AMH less than 2, then they have less reduction, and bilateral tumors have more reduction. So other risks of surgery we have already enumerated: the risk of disease recurrence, which is not low, and the associated inflammation, compromised vascularization, the risk of post-surgical ovarian failure, and obviously the cost. So experience of the surgery is one of the key drivers of success and low rate of complications. So there should be a shared and informed decision making between the doctor and the patient. Physicians should not guide the decision based on their own values and competences, like Dr. Sonal was asking just now. Rather, patients should be given freedom to choose and take an active part in decision making process. Shortening time to pregnancy is actually the preferred outcome for most of the patients. And even if surgery and IVF had similar rates of success, the latter, the means the ART is expected to achieve success earlier. So try IVF first should not be a physician decision, but in most cases it should be the decision of a properly informed patient. So we should properly discuss with the patient and then take the decision. Otherwise, the patient will blame you. So now let's see what is the impact of surgery for endometriosis on the outcome of IVF. So there is solid evidence based on several meta-analysis that surgical treatment of endometriomas does not improve the outcome of IVF. So it's not that first we do surgery and then do IVF, it will improve the outcome. It's not that. In contrast, it may cause reduction in ovarian reserve, especially in cases involving bilateral endometriomas or repeated surgical procedures. No study has investigated the impact of surgical excision of peritoneal endometriosis on the outcome of IVF, like minimal to mild. The surgery also shows that surgical excision of deep infiltrating endometriosis should not be performed in asymptomatic patients. If there is an asymptomatic patient with some dye, then there's no need to perform this laparoscopy. However, it may be required before IVF in patients who have pain and in those at risk of bowel occlusion or hydroureter or hydronephrosis during IVF in pregnancy. So, pain is one of the symptoms where you need to do surgery, or if there's risk of bowel occlusion or hydroureter during IVF. Now, this is a systematic review and meta-analysis of whether IVF or ICSI should be the first approach for the treatment of infertility associated with ovarian endometriosis. Here, this analyzed 22 studies with about 3,600 participants, and they compared the effectiveness of direct surgery followed by IVF with direct IVF. That means surgery followed by IVF with direct IVF.
Niranjan, tell
On the
Niranjan,
Dr.
tell Niranjan to
Nilima, can you please mute yourself?
on the reproductive outcomes of infertile women with endometriosis. And it was seen that surgery followed by IVF did not improve. The athlete is hiding. Did not,
ये का कंफर्म खत्म होने वाला होगा ना पहले सुप्रॉक्स की गोली दे देंगे
Dr. Iqbal, ma'am, can you please mute yourself?
it did not improve the live birth rate significantly in patients with ovarian endometrioma, and the clinical pregnancy rate was also unaffected by surgery, and the pregnancy loss rate remained comparable between the surgical and non-surgical groups. In the ovarian endometrioma subgroup, surgery reduced the concentration of AMH and the number of retrieved oocytes significantly. So IVF ICSI should be prioritized as the initial treatment for infertility in patients with endometriosis, reserving surgery for symptom management, patient-specific factors, or clearly defined clinical indications to optimize reproductive outcomes and patient safety. Now, when and why should we do combine surgery and IVF in endometriosis-related infertility? We know that IVF is generally preferred in cases of bilateral endometriomas or previous pelvic surgery, and it is also a quicker way to conceive, making it more feasible for women of advanced age. Surgical excision, only to improve fertility outcomes, is not supported by the currently available research. It should be individualized for women with ovarian endometrioma, remembering that all the techniques cause a reduction in ovarian reserve. So this is a very nice flowchart which shows how you should go about management of infertile patients in relation to endometriosis. So if there is a bilateral endometrioma or previous surgery or poor ovarian reserve, then you should see the accessibility of the follicles for ovum pickup. And if the accessibility is poor, you should go in for surgery and then ART. And if it is good, then you can directly go in for ART. And if these endometriomas or previous surgery or poor ovarian reserve is not present and the patient is symptomatic, then you should do ovarian reserve evaluation. If it is normal, then you can directly go in for surgery because the patient is symptomatic. For pain, we have to do surgery and the ovarian reserve is normal. But if the ovarian reserve is reduced, then you directly go in for ART. And if the patient is asymptomatic, then also you should directly go in for ART. So similar procedure we have to follow for DIE, that is deep infiltrating endometriosis. So this is the latest guidance of ESHRE. According to this, clinicians are not recommended to routinely perform surgery prior to ART to improve live birth rates in women with ASRM stage 1 and 2 endometriosis, as the potential benefits are unclear, and this is a strong recommendation. And the clinicians are not recommended to routinely perform surgery for ovarian endometrioma prior to ART. So prior to ART, we need not remove the ovarian endometrioma to improve live birth rates, as the current evidence shows no benefit and surgery is likely to have a negative impact on ovarian reserve. And surgery for endometrioma prior to ART can be considered to improve endometriosis associated pain or the accessibility of follicles. So pain and accessibility of follicles are the two main conditions when we need to consider surgery. The decision to offer surgical excision of deep endometriosis lesions prior to ART should be guided mainly by pain symptoms and patient preferences, as its effectiveness on reproductive outcome is uncertain due to lack of RCTs. So now let's discuss a few case scenarios based on this literature. This was a 30 years old patient with primary infertility of 2 years. She had regular cycles, the semen was normal, the tubes were patent. On ultrasound, one of the ovary had AFC, antral follicle count of 6 to 7 in each ovary. But there was an endometrioma in right ovary of 4 centimeter. She has tried 3 cycles of ovulation induction and timed intercourse. Now, this is the one ovary and the other ovary has an endometrioma. Otherwise, she doesn't have any other factor. Now, what next should be done? Anyone?
Sonal?
She's a case of primary infertility with unilateral endometrioma, good reserve, and fertility is the primary concern. So I would like to go for ART in this case, as there are already 3 cycles of failed ovulation induction with timed intercourse, and she has not conceived.
Anyone differing from this?
In such a patient, it is just a short duration of infertility, married for just 2 years, and there is endometrioma in one ovary. I would overstimulate the controlled ovarian stimulation, and IUI would be my first choice.
Yes, ma'am is very right. So we can do, she has already tried 3 cycles of ovulation induction. So now we can we can do surgery followed by trial for spontaneous conception or ovulation induction and IUI. Because she is a young patient, there is short infertility, she has good reserve, there is solitary endometrioma, and there are no other associated factors. So it is not yes or no. We have to see the whole patient profile. Like there is no other associated factor. What is the need to rush in for ART? She's been married for a short period. She has good ovarian reserve. You can do surgery, allow her for going for spontaneous conception or ovulation induction and IUI. And if she's not able to conceive, we can go in for ART after 6 months. So we have to see the whole scenario. Any comments from ma'am?
No,
Jindal?
I think I agree. I agree.
Why is your screen sharing is paused? It's
Hmm.
coming. Screen sharing is paused.
Paused? How?
Okay, now it's okay. So, Ashri also says that clinicians may consider operative laparoscopy for the treatment of endometrioma associated infertility, as it may increase the chance of natural pregnancy, although no data from comparative studies exists. So, now the next case. This patient is 28 years. She has primary infertility of 4 years. She has regular cycles.
Your slide has not moved.
You're not able to see case 2, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
No, no.
It is still at the previous case.
Can you see this X-ray guidelines? No?
No, it's not moving. I think you can stop share and do again.
Can you see now?
No,
No, ma'am.
I think you have to stop sharing and then
Yes, ma'am, it is stopped sharing now. You can share it again.
Can you see now?
We can
the
see the
whole
grid,
screen
ma'am.
is visible. Yeah, now at least moving is you can see. Just put on the slideshow.
Can you see
Yeah.
case?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So now this is a patient 20 years old. She has primary infertility of 4 years. She has regular cycles. Semen is normal. Bilateral tubes are patent. On ultrasound, she has bilateral kissing ovaries with right ovarian endometrioma 5 into 4 centimeter, and in left ovary there is a chocolate cyst 6 into 4 centimeter. She has antral follicle count of 5 to 6 in each ovary. So what would you advise? Now this is the picture.
IVF.
Dr. Anupam, any pain associated?
No, she has no pain.
I think ART is the choice in this.
Before doing any ART, would you like to do anything?
Accessibility of OPU is there or not?
Yes, this is very true. So, though she has, here the answer is ART, though young, she has average reserve and there is severe endometriosis, bilateral kissing ovaries, there's distorted pelvic anatomy. But before going in for ART, you should check the accessibility of follicles for ovum pickup. Now, this is the third case. Patient is 34 years old with primary infertility of 4 years. She has been operated for endometriosis 1 year ago due to ruptured endometriotic cyst. Actually, I delivered this patient last week only, and I have taken up her case. This is an actual true case. In the intra-op notes, there was written it was the right tube is patent, the left tube could not be visualized. She had regular cycles, the semen was normal. On ultrasound, the right ovary had an endometrioma of 4 centimeter. Like she had been operated, and now there is a recurrence of endometrioma of 4 centimeter. And in left ovary, there were 2 to 3 small endometriomas. The antral follicle count was 6 to 7 in each ovary. But there was a hydrosalpinx surrounding the left ovary. Now, how will you proceed?
Again, IVF followed by surgery to remove hydrosalpinx if fluid is coming.
Now, this was the right ovary.
The
So,
answer is ART in this case, but we have to decide whether to go for salpingectomy or not. So we can see post-ovulatory whether there is fluid in the endometrium or not and decide for surgery. Still better would be to go for OPU first and then salpingectomy if required, then transfer.
how will you see whether it is required or not?
We can check for fluid in endometrium, ma'am, post-ovulatory day 17, 18, if it is there, or if there is a big hydrosalpinx, it is very clear. If the hydrosalpinx is small and we are doubtful whether to go for repeat surgery or not, we can decide based on that.
Yes. So here we have to first assess the for the fluid in endometrium whether the hydrosalpinx is draining into the uterus. So assessment of mid-cycle endometrium to see for the presence of fluid, and here in this case there was no fluid. Endometrium was 8.5 mm triple line. So since she had a history of previous surgery and there was recurrence of endometrioma, we'll directly go in for ART. We didn't do anything about the hydrosalpinx and she conceived. So this reduced her time to pregnancy also. Now the next is, this is a 35 years old, primary infertility of 7 years. She had regular cycles. This was also an operated case for grade 4 endometriosis, that is frozen pelvis 6 months back. Here also the right tube was patent. Incidentally, here her also was left tube was buried under adhesions. The semen was normal. The right ovary had antral follicle count of 3 to 4. The left ovary, the antral follicle count was 2 to 3, and it was surrounded by a left hydrosalpinx. Endometrium was 9 mm with fluid present. So now how will you go about it? This is the picture. The reserve is also poor, and there is a hydrosalpinx, and she has been operated previously. So
But still, I think you can do a salpingectomy and remove this hydrosalpinx and then go in for ART.
ma'am, salpingectomy also reduces the ovarian reserve. She is very adamant on having her own, using her own oocytes.
Okay.
We do controlled ovarian hyperstimulation in this case, go for pickup and freeze the embryos, and then we can do salpingectomy and transfer in next cycle.
That can be done.
Yes, this is exactly what we did. So we did ovum pickup, and then we did salpingectomy, and then we did frozen embryo transfer. And this patient also conceived, and she also delivered about 1 month back. Ma'am, any comments?
I think this is right, but as a principle, now we always think of sandwich therapy whenever there is an associated problem like hydrosalpinx, fibroids, which needs operative intervention before embryo transfer. So that we do ovum pickup, try to retrieve as many as eggs possible, and then make the pelvis fit for embryo transfer and pregnancy. I would say that also, and then do embryo transfer. So freezing vitrification has come in a great way to help and plan these pregnancies. Surgery first, generally we avoid as far as possible unless ovaries are not accessible. Then obviously you have to go.
Yes, this is exactly nowadays we do that. We do the ovum pickup, we freeze the embryos. Then if surgery is required, not routinely, if we need to do it as for like in cases of hydrosalpinges, we do the surgery and then do plan the frozen embryo transfer.
Actually,
So
not
that-
all hydrosalpinges need surgery. Only those where it is communicating and fluid is coming in uterus, endometrium. But this fluid is also very deceptive. You know, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. Usually the best time to see is around 16, 17 day or during stimulation. We are many times when, you know, maximum hormones are there, because hydrosalpinges are also hormone responsive. So whenever a lot of hormones are there, then only the fluid will be there, and then it comes to uterus. And so we don't touch now those hydrosalpinges which are not communicating.
Whenever there is a fluid, do you always rule out COX?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
That,
So you have ruled out that.
Yes, ma'am. Endometrial biopsy we do. Whenever there is fluid, it is a must.
Okay.
And sometimes if the hydrosalpinx is communicating, the patient also gives history that he has got intermenstrual bleeding and all, like mid-cycle dirty discharge. This history is also often given by the patients if there is fluid in the endometrium. So now let's come to the last case. This patient is 31 years with primary infertility of 6 years. She had also some surgery in the past, query tubovarian mass in which the left ovary was removed. The semen is normal, the tubes are patent, and on ultrasound there is an right ovarian endometrioma of 5 into 6 centimeter, which is stuck to the back of uterus. Antral follicle count is 4 to 5, and the left ovary is absent. Now, what will you advise? So this is the picture.
I think you said it is adherent at the back of the uterus. Maybe you won't be able to take out the ovum. So in this case, maybe you'll do a surgery first.
Yes, but the patient is very apprehensive about her reserve because she has only one ovary and the reserve is also only 4 to 5. So what else can you advise her?
So you can do a trial of ovum pickup after this thing.
No, ma'am, you are right.
Trial,
We'll
We
have
can go for pooling of
trial
embryos
कर
in this
सकते
case.
हैं. Trial of ovum pickup in this case, but likely to be unsuccessful, I think.
The
yes, ma'am.
trial over pickup to Deepa is difficult because cost involvement is so high.
Hmm.
So that is there. But in this case, you can go for surgery first.
Yes, that
And
is
with
Yes.
full explanation to the patient that whatever ovarian reserve is there, we cannot take guarantee that it will
Yeah.
be saved.
Yes, I think the first thing is surgery only. But
Huh.
yes.
if the patient is so insistent, then you can just advise. No?
And
Yes.
sometimes we can do this trans-cervical pickup also, and under anesthesia, many times these ovaries become accessible. We have done trans-abdominal pickups also in certain cases where ovaries were high sitting up. So that also we have done. So we have to see if we can get oocytes by any route. Not possible, then we have to go for surgery, or we give an option for donor egg to this patient and then go for donor egg.
So that is what we counseled her, that either she should go in for idocytolysis followed by egg pulling, since the reserve was quite less and there was only one ovary, or if she can't afford, she can go in for IVF with ovum donation. So that is all. So main thing is we have to individualize the treatment based on the whole scenario. It's not yes or no, ART or surgery. We have to discuss the whole picture of the patient, profile of the patient.
Yeah, but more or less, I think it is more ART rather than surgery. I think that is the message
Yes, ma'am.
nowadays we give to all the patients who have endometriosis.
Right, ma'am, right.
And anybody has any interesting case who would like to discuss, where you have this kind of question? Vineet?
Ma'am, in recurrent IVF failure with endometriosis, when should we consider for surgery? Like there is single endometrioma, there was clear indication for ART, so we have done ART. It is failure, recurrent implantation failure. Is there any role of surgery in those cases for endometriosis?
See, recurrent endometriosis is a contraindication for surgery. I mean, that is there. You cannot have multiple insults on the ovary and pelvis, adhesions, everything. It has to be done only in those situations where there is no other alternative, like big hydrosalpinges or severe pain. When then the indications become more medical than fertility sparing. First choice, I mean, that's very clear that recurrent endometriosis surgery is not to be done unless it is mandatory.
No, I think she's asking about recurrent
Recurrent
implantation
implantation
failure,
failure.
You're
not
asking,
endometrium. She's asking recurrent implantation failure.
oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't, I thought that's, I was more stuck in endometriosis. Recurrent implantation failure also, there's no evidence that endometrioma surgery improves implantation. But medical management, yes, we normally prefer to give either long down regulation with the Leuproid, or now these antagonists have also come, oral antagonists. So inflammation needs to be controlled in endometrioma cases, especially the advanced stages, and then only embryo transfer is recommended. So recurrent implantation failure, you have to look for other causes. I don't think you can say that endometrioma is there. Adenomyosis many times is there, about which we can't do much, and we have to accept whatever there is, or we have to think of PGT or other options where we can be sure about the embryos, and then only do embryo transfers. But endometrioma per se or endometrioma surgery does not improve the chances of implantation. That is quite clear. What do you say, Anupam, about this?
Yes, ma'am. Undiagnosed adenomyosis, it may cause lower implantation rate. For this, the only thing we can do is give GnRH analogs for 2 or 3 cycles and then go in for frozen embryo transfer. It has been said that it may lower the endometrial receptivity. Only this to decrease the inflammatory milieu, we can give GnRH analogs and then proceed for frozen embryo transfer.
Ma'am, regarding the last case we discussed, she is just AFC 4 or 5, one ovary only, and the other is absent. So there are many many chances that she will end up in further reduction of her ovarian reserve, and she'll end up in donor oocytes. So how to convince the patient in this type of scenarios?
No, we have to do adhesive lysis just to mobilize the ovary and make the follicles accessible for ovum pickup. So prior counseling is very important. We have to tell her that the chances are already less, but this is the only thing we can do. And if she is adamant on proceeding on with her own oocytes, then she can go in for egg pooling. Like after adhesive lysis, we can do 2 or 3 cycles of IVF, and we can go in for egg pooling. Or if she doesn't want that, then she can go in for egg donation.
Dr. Anupam, I have a question to you and Umesh.
Hanji.
Yeah. If there is a patient who has primary infertility with endometriosis and adenomyosis, and she is quite relieved of her pain with Mirena.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And she wants the baby also, but she doesn't want at this moment to take out the Mirena. You can do the ovulation can we do the ovulation induction in this patient with
Yes,
Mirena?
ma'am. There is the PPOS protocol nowadays where we can do where we give the progesterones right from the startup stimulation, so that and there's no need for GnRH analogs or antagonists, and proceed with ovum pickup and freezing of the embryos.
Mirena does not interfere. Mirena is otherwise also very low dose, so you don't need to do anything for that.
So when will you remove Mirena then in this
Before
case?
implantation.
Before embryo transfer?
Before.
Just before embryo transfer?
Yeah. Maybe we'll wait for 1 more month, that's all.
Okay. Okay. So you think you'll get a good this thing? And
We can do ovum pickup. How I will proceed for this patient is I will do ovum pickup, and depending upon when she wants embryo transfer, accordingly I will remove Mirena and start her an oral GnRH antagonist, elagolix.
Okay.
So that she is free of pain, plus we get the endometriosis is also down regulated and inflammation is gone, and then we will go for embryo transfer.
Okay.
Ma'am, we can stimulate her along with Mirena because this progesterone primed ovarian stimulation is now an established protocol. So,
Okay.
rather, it obviates the use of GnRH analogs or antagonists. So, ovarian stimulation can be very clearly done with the Mirena in situ.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Ma'am, can you share your experience on any patient with deep infiltrating endometriosis with rectal endometriosis and with symptoms, proper symptoms like rectal bleeding, dyschezia? So, how to go about in this patient where the patient is so symptomatic and she's having mainly rectal endometriosis? Though it is very clear that in cases of deep infiltrating endometriosis alone, we go in for ART and there is limited role of surgery. But if there are rectal
No,
symptoms
no.
involved,
If the patient is symptomatic with deep infiltrating endometriosis, we have to do surgery first. Pain is a established criteria for surgery, whether it is for endometriosis, endometriomas, or for deep infiltrating endometriosis. If the patient is symptomatic, we have to go in for surgery. So,
I will share one patient. There was one patient, it's quite some time back, and she had decreased ovarian reserve and deep infiltrating endometriosis and severe pain. So I told her that we can go straight for IVF also because it's decreased ovarian reserve and we can withhold surgery later on. And it's just question of 1 or 2 months. So, and you have been tolerating this pain for so long. So if you can bear it, then we can go it. And we did like that, and she conceived luckily in the first cycle. And see, during pregnancy, there is no pain. Endometriosis gets subsides. So after the pregnancy, once patient delivers, after that you can put Mirena, and even deep and infiltrating endometriosis patients do very well with Mirena. You may not have to do surgery. And now these days, so many medical options are also there. So one doesn't have to rush in for surgery for these patients. And if you are able to do IVF and patient needs pregnancy, then you can weigh both the options. But many times patients are in such severe pain that you have to take action. You cannot postpone surgery.
I have just one more question, just to clarify. Like Umesh, you just said that you will give elagolix and then you'll perform the embryo transfer. So when you're giving elagolix, do you get a good endometrial line?
No. Elagolix just down regulates.
Huh.
After that, we'll have to give HRT.
Okay.
वो replacement तो देना पड़ेगा. I mean, if patient wants a pregnancy, तो that much, and see, if she conceives, then again she will not have pain because during
that part would be okay.
Because during replacement she will not have pain. So only during menses she is likely to get severe pain. So hopefully she will not get any menses.
And how long is that HRT usually in such cases?
Frozen embryo transfer? Generally 10 to 12 days, 14 days.
That is enough. That is okay. 10 to 12 days is...
You try to mimic the follicular phase.
No, but if she conceives, she has to continue it for 2 more months.
But with progesterone.
Then that is okay. If she has conceived, then that is fine.
And progesterone is always there.
We are talking only before conception.
Before, ma'am, elagolix will be able to
I'm asking you all this because I have a question and I have to, I have a patient who's so scared of pain. She says, I will not take out my Mirena.
No, absolutely fine. We electively don't take out.
Okay.
It's not that patient doesn't want, we will not take out.
Okay.
Any more questions from the participants?
Today we have time, so we can take one more case or questions.
You have time. That's why we are asking such silly questions.
No. They are not silly questions. They are very valid questions. Diba, your questions can never be silly.
In cases of endometriosis, normally you go for which kind of protocol?
In cases of endometriosis,
In cases of endometriosis, normally you go for long agonist protocols.
usually antagonist protocols only we are doing nowadays. But for before frozen embryo transfer, we can give her 1 or 2 shots of GnRH analogs. Though literature says that you can straight away proceed for frozen embryo transfer, there is no need.
Antagonist protocol is good enough. There's no need. See, initially when we were doing fresh transfers, that time agonist protocols were recommended. But now there's enough evidence that it doesn't help. The main problem in one of those cases where there is diffuse endometriosis in ovaries, and it's sometimes difficult to make out whether they are follicles or endometrioma small. They it's not many times classical look which they have, and these are the cases they do create a lot of confusion, and many times they stimulate to apparently 10, 12 follicles, and ultimately you get only 3, 4 oocytes. Things like that also happens. And Anupam, did you have to ever go through the endometrioma for ovum pickup?
Yes, ma'am, many times. So here the catch is that while passing the needle through the endometriuma, you don't switch on the suction. Only when after you pierce the follicle, then you switch on the suction. So this we have done many times. We have to go through the endometriuma, but afterwards, then we have to give a strong antibiotics, IV antibiotics, so that there is no abscess formation. Because there have been some cases reported where it may lead to abscess formation in the endometriuma. So antibiotic coverage should be good after if you pierce the endometrioma.
So it's not that absolute that you just can't go through the endometrioma, right? And another thing is, how many cases have you seen of infection after ovum pickup in endometriosis?
S400 कुछ है
Hmm?
ब्रह्मोस
Dr. Purnima, can you please mute yourself?
Ma'am, hardly one case, not many.
Yeah. So that many risks are just theoretical. I think we have punctured endometriomas more often than infection has occurred. I remember one case. She was a doctor herself, and she had very bad endometriosis, and she had quite bad sepsis also. So, but anyway, she improved with antibiotics. We didn't have to do any surgical intervention. So that was okay. But now we do give broad spectrum antibiotics prophylactically to these patients. Any other risk and how many times have you gone through the cervix in these poorly approachable ovaries?
Many times.
And many
These
times.
are very difficult due to adhesions. The follicle aspiration is quite difficult in most of the cases of endometriosis. So we have to push somewhere. One person has to push from the upper abdomen, give pressure one side, second side. So, but we manage through push and pull. We manage to go through the follicles and aspirate those sites.
Yeah, most of the times you are able to, and many times you just prick one fornix and you go to one ovary, and the other ovary is kissing also, and you aspirate the other ovary also through the same prick. This also happens.
Ovum pickup is difficult in cases of endometriomas.
I think with that, we can close the session if there are no more questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Anupam.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Ma'am,
Thank you,
can
Vinay.
you give one take-home message for all of us, ma'am, from this session?
So we have to individualize the case according to the patient profile. So you should not routinely go in for surgery in cases of endometriomas because it reduces the ovarian reserve. So otherwise, I think most of the patients can conceive through ART. It does not impair the quality of oocytes, or any other factor. Only tubal dysfunction may be the only cause of infertility in cases of endometriosis.
And moreover, these patients are young usually, and even if badly reduced ovarian reserve, even 2-3 oocytes also give pregnancy. So IVF can sometimes be very important in these patients.
So I think from your discussion, I get that at your center, you hardly do surgery for the endometriosis patients with infertility, no?
No, surgery has a very important role. I think surgery, endometriosis remains still the most common indication for at our center also. So all those things which we have discussed, we'll have to go for surgery. Anupam, please take over.
Ma'am, in our cases, we get very bad cases where the patient has lot of pain, lot of adhesions. The accessibility of the ovaries is not there. So in these cases, we have to resort it because mainly it is adhesiolysis. And of course, the ovary and the tube, they form a bilateral tube masses. So in these cases, we have to resort to surgery.
And sandwich therapy is very often we resort to.
Okay. And do you find that patients where you have undergone surgery, there are decreased chances of success of IVF?
No, ma'am, like ma'am says, we go in for sandwich therapy. First, we do the ovum pickup. But if in case the ovaries are not accessible, then of course we have to do surgery beforehand. So, but we have very good surgeon who is just expert in this fertility sparing surgery. So our reserve is not much hampered with this surgery. And moreover, ma'am, if we do the ovum, go in for IVF after 6 to 8 weeks of surgery, the ovary is able to take up the vascularization, inflammation also reduces, and then the results are better. Not immediately after the surgery. It takes about 2 to 3 months after the surgery for the ovum pickup to get good results.
Otherwise, also most of the times, many times we hardly are able to aspirate 2 to 4 follicles, and you have only this much oocytes. Even these patients do very well.
Okay.
Any more
Thank
questions?
you so much.
I think with that we can close the session.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Anupam ma'am, Jindal ma'am, for your expert insight.
And thank you everybody for participating.
Thank you.
We look
Excellent
forward.
discussion.
So we look forward to have you all in our upcoming sessions as well. Have a very good evening.
Thank you, everybody. We had a nice interaction.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.